That was all the opening I needed. Instead of telling Alex not to come, I told him to head over as planned. I put on the dress he always loved, the one that hugged my curves just right. I took my time getting ready, perfecting my makeup, spritzing on the perfume I knew would linger in the air between us. The anticipation made my pulse race. By the time Alex arrived, the house was bathed in warm, golden light. Soft music played in the background, the kind that made the moment feel almost cinematic. He stepped inside, taking in the scene with an appreciative smirk. "Damn, Shannon," he said, his eyes trailing over me. "You really know how to make a guy feel welcome." I laughed, but there was a nervous edge to it. I poured us each a glass of wine, feeling the heat in his gaze as I handed him his. We settled on the couch, closer than friends should be. Conversation flowed effortlessly, like we had slipped into a past version of ourselves, a version untouched by time or responsibility. "You ever think about what would have happened if we'd never broken up?" Alex mused, his fingers tracing the rim of his glass. "All the time," I admitted before I could stop myself. There was a charged silence between us, the kind that felt like standing at the edge of something dangerous, something inevitable. Then, before I could think twice, Alex reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. His fingertips lingered against my cheek, and I didn't pull away. My breath hitched as he leaned in just slightly, his lips hovering near mine. And that was when the front door opened. The sound of keys jingling, the door creaking. It felt like the universe had yanked me out of a dream and dropped me into a nightmare. I jerked away from Alex, so fast my wine glass nearly tipped over. Nathan stood frozen in the doorway, his expression a mask of shock and devastation. He didn't move, didn't speak, just looked. Looked at me, looked at Alex, looked at the intimate setting I had so carefully curated for a man who wasn't him. "Nathan," I breathed, my heart pounding. He stepped inside slowly, shutting the door behind him with an unsettling sense of calm. His eyes darkened, flicking between Alex and me. "What the hell is this?" My mind scrambled for an answer, some half-baked excuse that might soften the blow. Nathan, it's not." "I told you to stop." His voice wavered between heartbreak and fury, his jaw tightening. And yet here he is, in our house. Alex stood then, hands raised in a placating gesture. "Look, man, get out." Nathan's voice was steel, sharp and final. Alex hesitated, looking to me for some kind of intervention. I said nothing. What was there to say? He grabbed his coat and left, his footsteps fading into the night. Nathan exhaled a shaky breath, running a hand through his hair. His entire body was rigid, like he was barely holding himself together. "I don't even know who you are anymore." The weight of his words crushed me. I opened my mouth, but I couldn't find the right thing to say. "I'm sorry" felt empty. "I still love you" felt like a lie. "I think you should go," Nathan finally said, his voice raw and exhausted. Tears blurred my vision, but I nodded. I packed a bag in silence, the weight of every shared memory pressing down on me with each item I shoved inside. The sound of my zipper echoed in the heavy stillness. As I stepped past Nathan, heading for the door, I hesitated. I wanted him to stop me, to fight for me, to tell me we could fix this. But he didn't. He just stood there, arms crossed, looking at me like I was a stranger. I stepped outside, the night air cold against my skin. As I walked away from the home we had built together, one question burned in my mind. Was he ever really the problem? Or had it always been me? The moment I saw Nathan walk in, a rush of panic flooded through me. The cozy atmosphere that had felt so warm and exciting just moments ago now seemed damning under his gaze. Takeout containers sat on the coffee table. Half-filled wine glasses hinted at the intimacy of the evening. And Alex's jacket was casually draped over a chair. Nathan's face shifted in an instant. First confusion, then realization, and finally, an unmistakable look of devastation. It took him only a few seconds to piece everything together. His voice, when he finally spoke, was eerily quiet. "What is this?" I scrambled for an explanation, but even as the words left my mouth, I knew they were weak. "We were just watching a movie." Nathan's expression hardened. "In my house? On my couch? With my wife." Alex, beside me, immediately jumped in, his voice laced with nervous energy. Look, man, it's not what it looks like. But Nathan wasn't buying it. He turned his gaze toward Alex, his calm demeanor somehow more unsettling than if he had just erupted in anger. Oh, because it looks like you're getting comfortable with my wife while I'm supposed to be at work. I felt a rising panic, my brain grasping for control of the situation. Nathan, you're overreacting. Alex and I are just friends. We're allowed to hang out. Nathan repeated the word back to me, his voice hollow. Friends. He let the word hang between us before shaking his head. Friends don't sit like that, Shannon. I bristled, latching on to the one argument I could still use. I can invite whoever I want over. It's my house, too. The second I said it, I knew I had made a catastrophic mistake. Nathan stared at me for what felt like forever, his expression unreadable. Then, without another word, he turned to Alex. I think you should leave. Alex didn't hesitate. He grabbed his jacket, throwing me an apologetic glance before practically rushing out the door. And then it was just the two of us. Nathan let out a slow breath. So this is what our marriage means to you, he said finally. His voice wasn't angry. It was worse. It was tired, broken. This is how much respect you have for me? For us? For the life we built together? You're blowing this way out of proportion, I insisted, desperate to regain control. Nothing happened. Nathan's eyes locked onto mine, filled with something so raw it made my stomach churn. Something has been happening for months. Shannon, you've been lying to my face while I've been trying to save our marriage. I felt my frustration boil over. If you weren't so controlling about who I can be friends with... Stop. His voice cut through my protests. This isn't about friendship. This is about you and Alex. And whatever is still going on between you. His next words made my breath catch in my throat. Are you in love with him? I froze. And that was my answer. Nathan exhaled shakily. Do you love me at all anymore? The automatic response tumbled from my lips. Of course I love you. But you love him too. It wasn't a question. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Nathan nodded, as if coming to terms with something he had known all along, but hadn't wanted to believe. I can't do this anymore, Shannon. I'm done. Panic surged through me. You can't just throw away 6 years of marriage because you're jealous. His eyes flashed. This isn't about jealousy. This is about respect and trust, both of which are clearly gone. I could feel my world unraveling. I do want to fight for us, I said, but even I heard the emptiness in my voice. Nathan shook his head. No, you don't. If you did, Alex wouldn't have been in our house tonight. Tears blur my vision. I can cut him off completely. I'll block his number, delete him from Facebook, whatever you want. That's the problem, Shannon, Nathan said, his voice quiet but firm. It would be what I want, not what you want. And eventually, you'd resent me for it. We'd just end up right back here. Desperation clawed at me. I love you both. I blurted out, immediately regretting how it sounded. I mean, it's different. What I feel for Alex is different from what I feel for you. Nathan's expression hardened. And that's supposed to make me feel better? That I'm the stable, boring one while he's the exciting one. Why can't I just love both of you? I asked, my voice cracking. Is that really so wrong? Nathan's jaw tightened. I think you should leave. I stared at him in disbelief. You're kicking me out of my own house? Our house, he corrected. And yes, I think you should stay with a friend. Stay with your parents. Stay with Alex, for all I care. But I can't look at you right now without seeing him too. I refuse to let myself cry. I'm not going anywhere. You can't just throw me out because you're jealous. Nathan's control finally snapped. This isn't about jealousy, Shannon, he exploded. This is about you bringing another man into our home behind my back, after I explicitly asked you not to see him anymore. This is about you betraying every promise you ever made to me. Silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. Finally, I exhaled sharply. Fine, I'll go, but only because I don't want to be somewhere I'm not wanted. I stormed upstairs, throwing clothes and toiletries into a bag. When I came back down, Nathan was sitting on the couch, his head in his hands. He didn't look up as I grabbed my purse and keys. I thought Alex would be relieved, even happy. When I showed up at his door, tears streaking my face, my overnight bag slung over my shoulder. But instead, he looked surprised, and not in a good way. "Shannon?" His brow furrowed. "What happened?" "Nathan kicked me out." I choked out. "He came home and saw us together. He lost it." Alex hesitated before stepping aside to let me in. "You came here." I dropped my bag inside. "Can I stay here tonight?" "Just until I figure things out." He shifted uncomfortably. "Yeah, of course. You can take the bed. I'll sleep on the couch." That wasn't the response I expected. This was supposed to be romantic, passionate, the moment I was finally free to be with Alex. Instead, it felt awkward, forced. "I thought you'd be happy about this," I said quietly. Alex rubbed the back of his neck. "Shannon, we talked about being together." "Yeah, but I didn't think it would happen like this." "What are you saying?" He sighed. "I like you. I always have. But I thought we were just having fun. I didn't think you'd actually leave him." I felt the ground shift beneath me. "So all of this, the texts, the meetups, that was just fun to you?" "It wasn't a game," he said quickly. "But it wasn't this." Reality crashed down on me. I had destroyed my marriage for a fantasy, and that fantasy had just walked away.